We also probably need to get some Team DBK shirts out here with the Nebraska Volleyball team. That's what you call a transition, folks.
Bang.
With the Nebraska Volleyball team having not lost a set, it seems like ever. They've lost, I believe, 6 sets on the year in 20 matches, which seems pretty good, Jacob.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And teams were barely even reaching 20 against them. They're playing at such a high level, and that's the impressive thing. Is even early in the season we saw them get off to some slow starts, and while they're not winning wire to wire every single one of these matches, even that's improved. Where they're falling behind. It's not by much, and it doesn't take long for them to kind of click into gear and turn it around. So a lot of these aren't even that competitive, and part of it is like the schedule, and they haven't played other top 10 or other top Big Ten teams. But and the last time they did was Purdue, and they did almost drop that set. But again, they found a way to come alive and take over down the stretch, and then they rolled in the last 2 sets of that one, and they've been rolling ever since. So this will be a fun week for them to kind of test themselves against a Wisconsin team and to see just how locked in they have been and how they're able to handle it if they do run into some resistance this time.
Jacob, as you see it right now, I have this argument maybe once a week with Dr. Fiance about where the field is right now for, I guess, the title contenders in college volleyball. I make the argument that it's Nebraska and the field, and she likes to say it's Nebraska and Texas and then the rest. Do you see it that way, or is it closer in either argument?
Yeah, I think it's probably best for you to just agree with her. And not just in this case, but in general. I think Texas, they are the one team at this point. I mean, Nebraska beat the other teams that are in contention. And Texas is the one they haven't played. And you just look at kind of the depth of talent they have, and they've got a lot of young players too that I think are probably continuing to get better as the season goes on in important roles. So like that's the only team that you look at balance and like difference makers across the board. I think that's the only team that can come close to Nebraska. So I don't know if it's Nebraska and Texas in the field, if it's Nebraska 1, Texas in a second tier, and then everybody the rest of the way. But Texas is clearly separated itself from everybody else, I think, just not quite to the same degree that Nebraska has in terms of like consistency and overall dominance from start to finish.
JP, when you look at this Nebraska team, is there any part of you that is, I think about this in basketball a lot and kind of the ebbs and flow of the season, which I think is a lot more similar to volleyball in terms of just the number of games you're playing and sort of the different kind of roller coasters you go on through the season. Is there any part of you that worries about either peaking too early or anything that you've seen from the past years where it's like, hey, Nebraska's had some pretty dominant stretches over the last few years and then wasn't able to get it done when it came to getting, the Final Four time? Like, is there any part of you that has that creeping in the back of your mind, or how do you view this stretch of dominance considering where it comes in the season?
Yeah, no, I think the players have kind of talked through that, and coach has as well, just about how they're combating that and the complacency aspect of it and all that, just with the way they approach practice. And what Bergen, I think, said it yesterday, like they've got 2 of the best teams in the country in the same gym, regardless of how they organize those teams, because they're constantly moving around and changing it so they're all facing each other. And so like they're continuing to face, even if they don't get pressed in matches, they're facing difficulty in practice because of how good their B side is and cutting just the depth of talent they have. So like they're having to bring their best in practice every day. If one, they want to hold on to their jobs because they know how good those players behind them are. But 2, I think they are focused on accomplishing that goal. Like the veterans on this team know what it's like to have a great season and to come up short. And that's been the case for Nebraska for a while now. And I think these juniors leading the way, Rebecca Alec leading the way, they don't want to see that happen again. I mean, they know what that match felt like 2 years ago against Texas, and coming up short again last year against Penn State. So I think the balance of the team probably helps offset that as well, in that they're not relying on anybody. As talented as they are at so many different positions, anybody can have an off night and they can just go to somebody else. I mean, you look at it up and down the lineup, like Harper's hitting over 300. They've got 3 middles hitting over 400 and averaging over 2.5 kills a set. You've got Taylor Landfair, who's close to 290 now and is starting to become more effective, and missed a little bit of time with a slight ankle injury, but she should be fine. You've got Virginia Adriano hitting almost 250 on that right side, and she's been a little up and down, but playing her first season, and we've seen her at her best. So I think just kind of the nature of their practices and the way they approach that, in addition to their balance, kind of help offsets that to where I think they can win so many different ways that I don't know that they can necessarily peak too early, I don't think.
Jacob, do you think that there is, are we past the point where DBK knows exactly, how to remedy any of her rotations, or which players fit the best, and how starting lineups would look, per matchup? Or do you think that there is still something to be said about finding kind of that set rotation and moving forward with that for the rest of the season and the postseason and beyond?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we've kind of settled into what it's going to be when the matches are really competitive and every win counts. Outside of that libero spot, that'll be the one to watch kind of the rest of the way. Is obviously we've seen them switch back to Lainey Choboy at libero for the last 2 weeks, after Olivia Mauk had settled in there for a handful of weeks in a row. So that's probably going to continue to be kind of a week-to-week thing, just based on practice, based on matchups. And I think that they're both playing well regardless of what role they put them into. And I think that makes it easier for Dani, is the fact that, even if one isn't getting the libero jersey, she still has a chance to really impact the team and play well. And I think be happy with that. So that's the one I think for the most part they if she needs to break glass in case of emergency, we haven't seen that in a while. We know that she has options to change things up if someone is struggling, whether that's Ali Check on the right side. We saw that recently, whether if somebody maybe gets banged up and needs to miss a match. At middle, they've got Minayo Beche, who's continuing to play at a ridiculously high level every chance she gets. That's crazy. She would start at almost any team in the country, and she's cool with just playing whenever, coming in and helping them get better. And I think that's what makes this team so special, is you have players like that are happy in their roles. And that's how you get like Bergen said, two of the best teams in the country in the same gym, because players really are bought into the greater good for the team.
Jacob, as you look forward through the schedule, obviously the big one with Wisconsin coming up on Friday, but as you kind of, we're allowed to look forward a little bit because we're not actually playing or coaching. As you look through kind of the remainder of the regular season, are there any places where you look at and you go, okay, here might be a potential hiccup, or a place where Nebraska could be tested in a way they haven't been yet this year?
Yeah, I mean, you got the 3-game trip, Minnesota, and then UCLA and USC out on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. I know that those teams have tripped up some of the other. They're not top 10 teams, but they're top 25 teams in that range, and have kind of tripped up some of the other better teams in the league. And again, 3 straight on the road. That's, I think, probably, if you get past this Wisconsin match, that's probably the most treacherous part of the schedule remaining, because once you get past that, then you got Indiana on the road as well, who's been good this year. But then you get Penn State and Ohio State to kind of round out at home. So you get past this next stretch on the road. And that's kind of the interesting thing. It's like Nebraska, most of their big matches, just based on the way teams have worked out this season, most of their big matches are on the road. And so we've already seen them win at Purdue, who is, I think right now the second highest rated team in the Big Ten, just ahead of Wisconsin. So yeah, they're not facing the other top 5, top 10 teams like they did in the non-conference, but they are facing top 25 teams mostly on the road. So we'll continue to see them get challenged, and just kind of that maturity aspect of it. Like, are you ready to go every single night? Are you able to do what you need to with travel and all that to get your body ready to play at the highest level? So we'll see that, like, this winning 30 plus matches in a row, like that takes a ridiculous level of consistency and ability to fight through when you don't have your best. And so that's probably kind of the biggest obstacle that we'll see from Nebraska this season, because they don't have any other top 5 teams in conference play that they'll run into.
JP, this is sports equinox season, but it's almost your local sports equinox for you, because you've got the high school football playoffs starting. You have Creighton basketball next week. You've got Nebraska and Creighton volleyball still going on. And you've got kind of everything all loading up here. How do you differentiate your time? I mean, I know you're wanting to go every which way. So where are we going to be over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I got state volleyball coming up too, as well, right, to try to factor in. I think start with Nebraska volleyball, because obviously they're the best team in the country. And then Creighton basketball and/or state sports playoffs there, and volleyball, and then Creighton basketball from there, and whatever's left over. Like that's, I think, probably how I'm going to have to hire. I have not tried to plan beyond this schedule, just kind of waiting for the postseason stuff to play its way out, so I can see what it's going to look like. But not really looking forward to trying to figure out where I'm going to be when next week, because it's going to be very complicated. But I'll do my best to cover everything as best I can, and rely on our wonderful team to kind of help us provide some coverage of the stuff that I can't be at myself.